serving other people. Just doing something which you don't need to do, but because it's worth doing. Just when you get to the washing up afterwards, it's not whose turn it is. You rush up like a cat pounce. No, I want to do it today. I want to do it. It's my turn. I want to do it. And you actually fight over doing the duties. That's what we do at Bodhinyana Monastery, where I live. Whoever's turn it is, other people try and do it first. Ha ha ha, you're too slow. I did it first. Could you do that at home when it gets to washing the dishes? No, I'll do it first. Ha ha ha. Because that's the whole idea of doing service. It makes it far more fun. And you realize you get much energy contributing to doing things. That's one of my problems these days. People won't let me do the service. Now, sometimes I did try to wash the dishes in Bodhinyana Monastery. Well, why not? Okay, I'm a senior monk. It doesn't matter, mean I can't wash the dishes. And I tried to wash the dishes, and somebody came and took the tea towel and pulled it away from me. And I pulled it back. And I pulled it back. So that is why you get the joy of giving. But it's not just the joy of giving. Sometimes the karmic rewards of giving are immense. One of my favorite stories, and I've probably told it to you before, but who cares? It's one of my favorite ones, was the story of the doctor in the United States. Now, you have to start when he was a medical student. Anyone who's ever been to the United States knows that if you're a medical student, it costs a huge amount of money. And you don't get government subsidies to be a med student. So this poor boy, he had to work his way through med school, getting whatever job he could do during the vacations and on the weekend to help pay his living expenses and also tuition expenses to go through med school. And he wrote that one day, during the summer vacation, he got a job of selling, I don't know say what, but selling door to door. You know, the old door-to-door salesman, one of the worst jobs you can ever do. Knocking on the door when somebody asks, "Madam, do you want to buy this? Do you want to buy that?" Do they still do that in Singapore? They do? Yeah, okay. The door-to-door salesman. And this poor student, he'd been going all day in a hot day, knocking on doors, most of the time being rejected. "No, thank you, not today. If you do that again, we'll set the dog on you." People are very unkind sometimes. So, he knocked on one person's door. This woman answered the door. He said, "Do you want to buy something?" He said, "No, go away." But then she stopped and asked this young man, he said, "Have you had anything to eat today or anything to drink?" He said, "Actually, not since the morning. It was mid-afternoon." She says, "Hang on, young man." And she just went to the kitchen and just gave him a glass of milk and 2 biscuits, 2 cookies. That's all. Just a little act of kindness for a student who was working very hard. And he always remembered that, the kindness of somebody who just gave him a glass of milk and 2 cookies. Fast forward 25 years, and now he's a very skilled surgeon, an oncologist, treating people with cancers. And he wrote that one of his friends referred a case which was incredibly difficult, a woman who had a very, very severe cancer, and no other people were willing to operate on her because it was just too dangerous and the chances of survival were just not worth it. But when he looked at the case, he decided he would give it a try. Not just give it a try, but he would give it everything he had. He called in favors from other anaesthetists and support medical staff throughout the country, flew them to New York to try and help this woman. It was a number of operations, it was a long process, but in the end, he managed to succeed and pull her through to confirm that she was in remission and she could probably expect to live another 10, even 20, 30 years. It was a great success. So the woman was overjoyed that she would live, but there was still another problem, the bill. Because if you have such treatment in the United States, it costs much more than this center costs. It's huge amounts of money. But when she opened the bill from the hospital, with trepidation, all it said on the bill was paid 25 years ago with a glass of milk and 2 cookies. It was the same woman. He'd been referred this case, a true story, referred this case, and he would have just thrown it away as impossible, but he recognized the address, checked up, that woman had been living there for the past 30 or 40 years. It was her. He recognized this woman in great trouble was the same woman who did a little act of kindness when he was a student. And he decided he's going to give everything he had to this case. And he did pull her through. And as his last act of kindness, he wrote on the bill, paid 25 years ago with a glass of milk and 2 cookies. He paid the bill himself. Now that is the result of kindness. Never ever think it doesn't come back to you. Never think that you give a glass of milk and 2 cookies, you only get a glass of milk and 2 cookies back. You don't. You get it with interest. Compounded, huge interest. A whole big medical bill and your life. Now, I always love that story because that really teaches me about any opportunity to be kind, to be generous, to be compassionate. You never turn that aside. It's such a beautiful thing to do. And of all the hard work and all the generosity which you do, afterwards you look on what you've achieved.